What if I told you that by signing your marriage contract, you are actually threatening that thing, that love, that rare human experience that you so wish to preserve and codify? That marriage itself is the biggest threat to romantic love ever created by man. That's what I'm going to talk about today. How it is by slapping a contract on something, we have managed to destroy that which we most value. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. Archaeologists have found skeletons of men and women buried together from over 10,000 years ago. Since before civilization began, men and women were coming together in partnership to form connection, or in connection to form partnership. There were no legal contracts. I like to think that there was some romantic love there, that the caveman looked across the camp and saw the cave lady, got a little twinkle in his eye, and a little movement down below. One thing led to another, a connection was made, and a partnership was formed. That partnership was one out of necessity, and it was an agreement that was made for as long as necessary, and no longer. There was no legal binding contract. There was no enforcement of law upon them. This was an emotional connection that drew people together in the most human of experiences. A connection in something that we like to call love. Now, I don't know if that's true. I like to think it's true. Could be completely fooling myself. If that's the case, I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me. But it's a nice idea. It's a nice thought. I do know that in my own life, whenever I've felt that little twinkle, that little movement down below, and I looked across the camp and saw that other human female, and I felt drawn to her, that it is the rarest and most wonderful of experiences. And when that feeling is reciprocated, man, there ain't nothing like it in the world. There ain't nothing like it. It is the drug that so many of us find makes life interesting. However, when you try to legalize that drug, put a contract around it, it becomes so much more complicated. That connection, that partnership, that occurs so naturally and so beautifully in the wild, in nature. When we humans get involved and we decide that we're going to codify it in some law and add some accounting to it, oh my God, what a mess it makes. I remember when I was a kid and first experienced those first tingles of romantic love. Her name was Alicia, and me and my best friend Mike both had those same tingles for her. We had a competition to see who would win her, and I won. But because he was my best friend, I shared her with him. I guess you could call it a polyamorous relationship on some level. But yeah, so this is something that occurs naturally in people. It's not something that I think is a construct of Disney or of screenwriters in Hollywood. I think this is something that's been around for a long time. I don't think at age 9 or 10 I was that influenced by Disney. I didn't watch a lot of their movies, and I certainly never watched a romantic comedy before. So I like to think that this is something that just occurs in us naturally. Uh-oh, I've lost a dog. Hang on. Alan Watts was one of the most influential philosophers of the 20th century, and he called marriage a beautiful illusion driven by fear. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. That the fear of change, the fear of loss has always been humanity's biggest blind spot. And in marriage, we try to lock in place this fluid experience of romantic love. Romantic love has a beginning, a middle, and an end. All relationships end. And when we get into them, we don't realize that. We think that somehow through this marriage contract, we can lock it in. We can lock it in place. Unfortunately, it is the act of trying to seal it, to codify it, that we destroy it. It's like me trying to capture the stream in my hands. There is no way that I can do it. I can stand here on its banks and I can enjoy the experience of being with it. But I cannot take it home. I cannot freeze it. I cannot stop it. I cannot capture this moment for all time and just codify it and say, this is the way it's always going to be. Because every time I come here, it changes. First of all, I come to different places along the stream, so I experience it differently depending on where I am and when it is. The weather is different all the time. It's hotter or colder or whatever. The leaves or trees are different. Everything about the experience is different. And that's what romantic love is like. Every time you come together with your lover, the experience is fresh, it's new, it's enjoyable. But when you get married, when you put this contract on it, these parameters, you put it in this box, well, now you've created a problem because there are now expectations. This fluid experience of give and take, this partnership, this connection, has now been reduced to a contract. It's transactional. Now, you do this and I do that. And if you don't do this, I've got these rights under this contract and I can take these actions to protect myself. What's interesting is that in a true partnership, like a business partnership, two people or two organizations with certain skill sets come together to form a third party, and they will negotiate a partnership. They will create a contract based on what each party is bringing to the table. With marriage, it's a little bit different. The contract is out there already, and it's just looking for people, you know? The contract is not customized to you, or to me, or to anyone else. It's a legal contract established by the state. And anyone who enters into it must adhere to these provisions. And whatever state you're living in will drive the provisions of your particular contract. It's bullshit. It's crazy. It's stupid. It's unbelievable that we as human beings, as modern thinking people with access to AI, would enter into this contract that's going to put this boilerplate on your relationship and say, okay, now you guys are going to have to conform to this. And if you don't, well, then there's penalties involved, you know? Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me at all. I would argue that when you enter into a modern marriage contract, now there are three parties to this relationship. Now it's polyamorous. Because you got her, and you got the state. Yeah. And I hate to use this vernacular, but at the end of the day, you're probably the one who's going to get screwed. And it's not the kind of screwing that you want to do. So if you remember in high school when you first went to a dance, you're like, what the hell am I doing here? You know, I don't know how to dance. And then some cute girl wants to dance with you. So you just go out there on the dance floor, you just move. And sometimes, without realizing it, you start having fun. You're moving freely. You're just being yourself. You have lost all your inhibitions at this point, and you're just out there making a fool out of yourself, having a great time. It is wonderful. It is a feeling of complete authenticity and freedom. And it doesn't happen very often when you're a teenager. Marriage is like that. No, I'm sorry. Romantic love is like that. Romantic love is like free dancing. It's like being yourself, authentically out there on the floor, doing your own thing. You and your girl, moving and looking at each other, freely expressing yourselves for who you really are. When you introduce marriage into this relationship, you have introduced a choreographer. This choreographer now is going to control the dance. The dance cannot move freely, in and out. You know, the closeness and separation that occurs naturally during a dance is what builds the tension. It creates the the mystery. It makes it more exciting and enjoyable. But when you enter into a contract like marriage, well, now the choreographer says, no, you can't move too far away. You know, you've got to stay close. And if you do move too far away, well, you may have to pay. Like, this dance is going to come to an end, and now this whole situation is going to turn into something that you are probably going to regret. Because the choreographer gets involved, the dance loses its fun. The joy of the dance goes away altogether. It now feels obligatory. Like, the dance is no longer something you're doing because you like to dance, it's doing the dance because you have to. The choreographer says you must continue dancing. And if you try to stop dancing, again, there's penalties. When love occurs naturally, it runs its course naturally. There is a rhythm to a relationship. When the marriage contract gets involved, that rhythm is dictated to you. And that's where we run into problems. And it gets compounded because we have these societal expectations upon us to be successful at different areas of our life, in our career, in our education, and in our relationships. And when we go into a marriage, we go into it with all the personal expectations of succeeding. But we're succeeding based on our experience of our romance. And the romance was a dance that we were dancing. When we go into a marriage, now that we're being choreographed, we're no longer in control of the steps. We're no longer in control of the fluidity of the relationship. And it constrains us. And because it constrains us and makes us feel afraid of what could happen if we don't keep dancing, it makes us less likely to want to dance at all. And then at the end of the day, when a marriage ends badly, as they usually do in divorce, it brings shame, it brings anger, it brings guilt, because we failed. We feel like we weren't good enough to maintain this relationship, like there's something wrong with us, we're broken. And that is not the case at all. What's broken is the institution of marriage. Marriage is not a natural, healthy human experience. Monogamy, when it's not limited by contract, I think can be healthy. I think that you can have a healthy monogamous relationship. I've seen people argue that humans, like all other mammals or most other mammals, are actually polygamous and we should be out there mounting everything that moves. I don't think that's it. I think that there's something about connection and relationship that is valuable to us and is uniquely us that's valuable to. But I don't think that regulating it with a contract and a law is going to enhance it. I think quite the opposite. Slapping a law on this thing and trying to regulate it destroys it. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking down the sidewalk in my neighborhood, and a woman was walking toward me. And because I've got 3 dogs on leashes, she went out into the street to go around us. And as she passed, she smiled and she said, "Wow, there must be a lot of love in your house." And I smiled and thought, that was a pretty nice thing for her to say, you know? And I thought, she's right. There is a lot of love in my house. That I do have a lot of love for these dogs. They've been very important to me, and they play a key role in my life. And then I thought about love as a concept. Because I have 3 kids, and I have parents and brother, and I have a sister and half brother and all kinds of relatives. Anyway, love is not something that can be subdivided. It is something that is infinite in its availability. Like when my youngest daughter was born and she needed to be added to the love list, it wasn't like I took love from my middle daughter and gave it to her. You know what I mean? Like there was more love there already. Like there's an infinite amount of love available. There is no limit to what can be given. And the interesting thing about infinity, when you try to wrap your brain around it. It's very difficult because all the subsets of infinity are also infinite. So there is no way to subdivide infinity, because each time you do, you just create another infinity. Infinity is infinite in all of its forms, in all of its subsets. You could cut it up 1,000,000 times and now you would just have 1,000,000 infinite sets. And that's what love is. The difficulty with marriage when it comes to love is it tries to limit it. That it says that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. That with divorce, your love ends. The time and energy that you spend with this person, that you have dedicated your life to, ends. And it creates the illusion of lost time, like opportunity lost. Like, I gave my life to this woman, and now I've lost all these years. And I think that is a terrible, terrible error, because with that thought comes so many negative things, because now you're living in regret for the experience of having this relationship. And I would like to offer, as an alternative, despite the behavior of a person, you can still love them even though you're not with them. You can love the memory. You can love the experience of having had a relationship with this person. And I know this is hard for a lot of guys, because I know that you guys have had some bitter-ass divorces, and I know that those things are hard. They really are. And I know that when you're close to it, when you're obsessed with it, when it's occupying your mind, it's very hard to see past the anger and the bitterness. And I've been accused many times after my videos on the comments section that I'm a bitter old man. But, you know, I'm not. I mean, I would never get married again. At least it's not my intention to ever get married again. And certainly I would not want to get married to my ex-wife again. And I certainly do not want to have a romantic, loving relationship with her ever again. You know, those things are all off the table. But there is some aspect of me that still appreciates the fact that we fell in love, that we had this wonderful experience of having children. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. There were lots and lots of problems. There absolutely were. But there were also lots and lots of good times. There was lots of love in our house. That's kind of what I'm getting around to, is that the love has no end. It's infinite. That experience came and went, but the love associated with it doesn't have to. That you can carry that love forward and you can still experience it in your memories and think of it from a perspective of the infinite, of a loving moment in your life. Because not everyone has them. Back during the pandemic, I met this woman, and we met like at some, at the park, where I had the picnic tables, and we had like a little lunch date out there. And I was making conversation with her. She was really attractive, very sexy, and we were talking about loving relationships. And she was in her 30s, maybe 40, maybe she was close to 40, and she said, I've never had that experience. I've never been in love. I've never had a romantic, loving relationship. All of my relationships have been physical. They've been sexual. They've been transactional in some way. And I thought, oh man, that is fucking sick. That is crazy sick. I could not imagine what my life would be like if I had not had all of the romantic relationships that I've had during the course of my life. And I've had a lot. I've been fortunate. I've had some wonderful, delicious, wonderful relationships with women. Obviously, they're all ended. They all ended. The end was predictable in every one of them. They were all flawed in some way, shape, or form. But that doesn't mean that the love was not there, that the romantic experience was not real, that it wasn't just delicious in the moment. And I think that as men, you got to stop and reflect, like, wait, do I want to live my life in this bitter place? Do I want to be this guy that hates women from now on because I got burned in a relationship? Come on, man, get over yourself. The world is big. It's filled with women. And I know they're a pain in the ass, and I know they're children, but they are fun. They are enjoyable. And when you find one that catches your eye, like that caveman looking across the camp and seeing that cave lady and getting that little tingle, it's like, oh man, she's like a glazed donut, man. I just want to bite into that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So don't let marriage and failed relationships destroy your concept of women or destroy your desire to have them in your life. Because I think that you can do that. I think you can have healthy, enjoyable relationships. You just need to know that they're going to end. And don't get yourself wrapped up in a legal contract, because it's going to probably ruin the relationship. I think that it's possible for some people to maybe get married, but it's just so hard, and it's just so rare, and it makes things so much more complicated. It requires people who are extremely dedicated to the partnership aspect of the relationship, and that is not very many people. Too oftentimes we get married when we're young and we just don't know what the hell we're doing. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who might benefit from it, please share the video with them. In the meantime, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.